And welcome, we are live. It's Monday, February 4th. It's Blender today, number 48 already. Yes, we are still in Blender 2.8 beta. This week, really development-wise, it has been very, very quiet. There has been a few improvements. Well, there have been a lot of bug fixes, but it's hard to show the bug fixes. There has been plenty of stuff going on the Workbench engine. There is also now support for objects transparency and material transparency, which is pretty neat. I've been using it on my shots on the Spring Open Movie project, and it's working pretty well. Thank you for the thumbs up. It seems everything is okay with the audio. There were some settings that were lost, but there is something else that is going on this week that is pretty amazing. Is Blender, well, actually, Tom Rosendahl, the creator of Blender, won an award for Blender, an achievement, a technical achievement award, which is like the Oscars for animation, is the Annie Awards. It's insane. Those kind of awards go to like industry changing stuff and achievements. And yeah, apparently Blender is one too, right? It changed a lot of lives, including some people I know. So we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about the 25 years of Blender as well. So let's get to it. First, I'm gonna show some of the updates, so we get over with that, and then we move on. Thank you everybody for the thumbs up. So many thumbs up. Look at that. Awesome. All right, so I just posted on Blender today, by the way, so you can ask questions. Remember this, the way this works is the first half I talk about Blender in general, and then the second half is Q&A. So here, Blender Today 48, there's already 4 questions, 6 questions. Okay, here, as excited as I am. So go there and leave a question and upvote. You can give it a heart to the questions that are the ones that you want to get answered, because then gonna have it sorted and then I can check. By the way, now on Blender Today, you can also see the Blender Cloud subscribers, the Blender CodeQuest supporters, so you can actually show off your development fund is also there, so you can show off your badges on blender.community. So the development, let's get into development. So about 105 bugs were fixed last week. So yeah, we are in that part, stage of the development of Blender 2.8 where there are more fixes than new features, and that's a good thing. There has been okay, some of the features are brought back from 2.7, but in this case it was mainly bug fixes. There are some improvements on bevel corner shapes for a feature that we showed a couple of weeks ago, and also there has been the improvements that I mentioned before on the Workbench, which is the engine that powers the solid mode or like texture mode when you're painting, texturing, or when you are sculpting. And it's such a nice feature that, for example, it's just as simple that as they actually it's there, but it's not so obvious. When you add a material, when you have a material in your viewport, you can change the color of the material, right? And if you are in the Workbench engine and the shading setting to material, which is the default, then you would see, for a few days, you would see it all transparent, because Blender is now using the alpha color, the transparency color of your viewport, basically. And by default, for just a few hours, it was in 0 by default. So there were some reports on Twitter about this, like, I can't see my objects when I add a new material. Well, it wasn't that you couldn't see it, it was just transparent. But it was funny because it was a report from a few days ago, and it was like, I answered saying like, your Blender is out of date. And somebody tweeted saying like, Blender 2.8, the only software where a couple of days means you're outdated. And yeah, kind of means that. So yeah, you can change the color and you can make it transparent. So it's very straightforward, but it's a lifesaver when you are, especially, for example, I think in the dev talk, Brecht uploaded a picture of a feature. Yeah, this one, for example, I took this screenshot from shot from Spring, and this blue cube that we see here is a volume. So I have to place objects and lamps, everything inside of that volume, which in 2.7 I would basically just see the wireframe, so you wouldn't see exactly what was in or out. There were ways to get transparency in Blender 2.7, but it wasn't there yet. And I love this feature. I uploaded, oh no, I didn't upload it yet to the cloud, or did I? Let's check. Otherwise, because I put it on Instagram, this is not a shameless plug, but I uploaded the video where, here, this one, where I actually show the feature, and you can see a bit of transparency here. It's very hard to see, but I uploaded the video because the whole point is just to get more people on Blender Cloud, but I forgot to upload it today. So the video that you can see here is it's like a play blast of the OpenGL, and that's when you can see it, because this feature works on the solid mode and texture modes. It doesn't work on look dev or Eevee render. So for Eevee you need like a real transparency. It's very fast, very furious. It works even with multiple objects inside of other objects. So if you have this object and then you just have multiple, then you can see this and they overlap, and you can still select things that are inside. So it's pretty handy for making all kinds of volume objects. For example, in this case, the cool thing about being a material is that you can set it for some parts of the model, not for the entire model. So for example, if I wanted here to make let's say this part, I go to viewport display, so it's a viewport display setting, so you change the color and you can change the transparency, and you can see through just this bit of the model, which is very nice, very handy. And there's another option that was added last week as well, which is basically the same result but on an object level. So you can toggle header. No, it's a flip to top. So you can preview, instead of the material color, you can have object colors. So you can set a color in the object settings. Wow, thank you very much, Artyom Antipov. Thank you very much for your contribution. In the viewport display settings of the object, you can specify the whole object to have a specific color. So it's very useful. For example, I used it in the scenes from Spring. I used it for seeing everything white except that one color for the drops, for example, for the flying dust. This, for example, are flying particles, and it's very, very useful. It's a use case that it looks like a corner case, but it's actually very, very handy. The same as using random colors or textured. So all the options that the Workbench engine is getting, it's amazing. Like with the cavity, if you mix it with the depth of field, and then you just can go nuts with all the settings. It's like living in it's like a completely different software just for that feature. Let's move on. That was the transparency. I talked a lot about the transparency, but it's really that exciting. And it's also fast. It's not something that you have to save and use only on a specific case, but you should just use it. It's not expensive to render on the viewport because of the new OpenGL and because of the magic, the French magic of Clément. In other news, in development news, there is we have a new buddy at the Blender studio. There, Jeroen Bakker is the developer that has been around for a while. Actually, he's been working on the compositor in the past together with his wife there, Monique. Then he's also been working on the Workbench engine during the Blender 2.8 Code Quest. So he's a known. You probably recognize him from the videos that I made in the past for the Blender developers YouTube video channel. He's now working on Cycles OpenCL. That is before you go nuts, yeah, why OpenCL? Why not Vulkan? Why not something else? Well, it's a different technology anyway. But why not like something else? Because he is actually hired and funded by AMD. AMD is paying directly developers just to take care of that part of OpenCL, so it's up to speed with Cycle's CUDA with NVIDIA cards. So that's it. Your money from the Blender development fund is not going to that one specific area. Just in case you have a like a NVIDIA card and then you don't feel like your money is well spent. So speaking of the Blender development fund, by the way, we're now over the halfway point. It should be around $30,000 per month. This is very, very good news. Actually, there's some new Diamond, actually, Gumroad. The people from, every time you see somebody sharing stuff from Gumroad, now they're part of their Diamond members, together with CG Cookies, Sketchfab, and others. So welcome to the family. Maybe could level up to corporate silver. That's pretty nice. Nobody has reached the corporate other levels yet. Must be very well. Actually, those it could be by other big companies or studios. Is it getting a bit laggy? No? Is it okay? Because it shows here that it's 100% being used by, okay, is it okay? By OBS. So the software that I use for streaming. So I hope everything is okay. All right, AMD is helping. Are you listening, Apple? Yeah, exactly, right? What happens with that Apple? All right, let's move on. I feel it's a bit laggy. Let me know if it's okay or if it's too slow. If it's annoying, I can restart. Let's move on. On Blender today, I asked you to ask the questions. So that topic of today was to talk about the Annie Awards, about how special this is, how special this event is, and how the Blender 25 years managed to be okay. Thanks for the thumbs up. Everything is okay. Cool. So how the Blender, the 25 years, which is a video that it was released not long ago. Actually, I can just search for it. 25 here. 25. I'm just gonna Google it. Blender 25 years. I wanted to go through it because since there was not a lot of development news, I just wanted to talk about it, go through it with you. And okay, cool. It's not laggy. It's just my feeling then, because it really shows 100% for the CPU. Apparently, it's fine. Okay. So this idea actually came by Francesco. He mentioned like, hey, if you have some time, you can actually talk about it in today's episode. So the 25 years, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's very, very short. It shows work from like the early days until now. This is 1994. I was only 8 back then, but let's go through the more exciting part. If you want to see actually Blender in Amiga running here, you can, there is a video, by the way. There is a video. It's a Blender Amiga, or no, traces. Now it's laggy. Okay, now it's laggy. Oh no. I wanted to Pablo Escobar. No. Why not Pablo Neruda? Pablo, choppy video, only video, whatever. Okay. Frame rate is choppy. I can see if I can solve it by closing. Let's see. Yeah. All right, let's see. Now, apparently it's also super laggy now. Okay, that is bad news. I will have to reboot. Give me a second. Give me a second. We are back. Is it choppy? Am I choppy? Should I move? No, it still says like 98%. So there's something going on. No sound? Better. Okay, much better. Okay, cool. Let's continue. Let's move on. Okay. So okay, awesome. This is what I wanted to show. There is a video actually where you can actually, oh, thank you very much, Aldair Gonzalez. Thank you. The video that I wanted to show is that you can actually see how Blender was back in the 1995. Blender still had like P4Play. It had the preview. It had a setting that is just so good. It had a preview for when you change the materials. This was one of my favorite features that I never used actually. Was that every time you made a change in the material settings, it will make a preview for each change. So then you could you could compare whatever change you did with the previous one. So it was pretty nice. Choppy again, come on. And laggy again. Okay, it's not performance, it's like 97%. So I blame OBS. You can't trust open source. No, kidding, of course. Reboot. Okay, give me a moment. I will be back right now with you. Is it? I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. But at least we are back. We are live. Yes. Here are you guys. I can't believe you actually waited for me. There hasn't even so many updates going on. Is the audio okay? Apparently it sounds okay. Sound is good. All right, everything is good. There. Okay. Gee. Okay. Let's hope it goes back. Fine. Good to see you guys. Why are you even waiting? Thank you. You're too good. I don't deserve this. Let's move on. Maybe we can just jump into the questions. I just wanted to see. Okay, we're still here. You're awesome, you guys. Brofist. Don't play any videos. That's a problem. No, but I always play videos. Maybe I can just shut down this. I was checking out text tools. Okay, I can close this, and hopefully this will work. So the what I wanted to actually talk about was the 25 years of Blender video, which is insane. That look at this boy at home there. It just managed to create this. At first it was just for making video games, but then quickly the video jumps into the 220 area, and the 225 was the first Blender version that went online for free, like the Blender publisher. And then first you could get it, but you had to get a license. So thank you very much for that. Now we get an extra 10 minutes. Yes, thank you. Now we're gonna get an extra 10 minutes. Sorry about that. So maybe the video is cursed. No, there's no such thing. So this is Blender 2.30. Here there was already one jump in a better UI, because before that the UI, all the buttons were stuck on the view. You couldn't just basically do much with them. They were burned into the UI. So in Blender 2.30 the future arrived, so you could actually now have panels. They were actually better than the panels that we have today, because you can have two, like you can put one panel on top of the other, and then you could basically just have like tabs inside your own panels, and that was amazing. That we don't have that anymore. And also it was pretty cool because you had like big buttons, long buttons, like a 4-in-1. It was a crazy layout, but it kind of worked. I liked it. We don't have that anymore because now it's all one list, which is more readable in a way, but it's just a bit less fun. You also had like buttons like I don't know if you remember this, but there was like fields, and then you had like odd and then an X, a button of an X. Then for some reason the 100% was full, and then you had smaller ones. It was just crazy. Anti-aliasing was called OSA. Why? Well, because it's screen anti-aliasing. No? Oversampling. That was oversampling. Then yeah, it was just crazy. Do sequence. It's not a sequencer, enable sequencer, or do, it's just the do sequence. Just awesome. And I could keep going, but basically this is it's amazing. And the oversampling, yes, thank you, Lucky Fuzz. So the game engine is highly promoted in this reel because it really is. Blender started as a game engine. I started using Blender because of a game engine. So it feels, I came to Amsterdam the first time because of the game engine, because of Yo Frankie. So this, do you recognize this guy, this boy over here? Can you tell who is it? That is Tom Roastnell, made by Andy Goralczyk, which will later be, this is for the introduction of the Susanna Awards 2006, I think, and it was for the Susanne Festival. And that was Ton. Ton was like going on holidays, but basically he was building Blender, and it was pretty fun. You should look it up. It's a Blender Susanne Festival 2006, I believe. This is the chair. This chair is Chicken Chair by Bassam Kurdali, who this is him. He will later direct the very first open movie project, Elephant's Dream. Then you have Ton with the goatee. Very concerned. You get Andy Goralczyk, both art director of Elephant's Dream and Bassam Kurdali, both working. I think this screen is still at the Blender Institute, I believe. It's insane. He was a compositor in 2006. The compositor was being 2005 and 6 was basically made for Elephant's Dream, and he made it like Ton, the creator, continue working on it. So that is super like, I don't know, it must feel really great. It's like making a car and then just continue adding to it, and then more people get in the car and drive it and take it for a spin, and basically designing how all it will work. And I think I wouldn't be too wrong to say that maybe this compositor was faster than the compositor we have right now, because of reasons, because of how it worked. But no, of course, no, these computers were much slower back then. Big Bug Bunny 2007/8. 2008 was when it was released. Nathan Vegdal did the walking tour of the Blender Institute. You can still find this video on Vimeo if you want. It's just great. It has from the showing the Blender Institute the first official offices of Blender as an open source project. Then this is from the documentary of the Big Bug Bunny project. Then you will find from bunnies to like here. Look at that. It is awesome. And before that, I think we can find, here you can find William. He's now working on the UI and also being an animator. He was also an animator on Sintel. Then Enrico Valenza, Sara Huregeburen, director of Big Bug Bunny. Andy again from Elephant's Dream, also again a art director for Big Bug Bunny. And Nathan rigging, also rigging for Sintel. Then who doesn't know Brecht and Campbell. Brecht back then, he was working on the approximate ambient occlusion for Blender internal, of course, Blender internal back then. He also worked on getting a bunch of geometry on the screen. Campbell was working part of it on Big Block Bunny, and then part of it he was also working on Yo Frankie. And then it came Blender 2.5. For this, actually this splash screen, like little known fact, this is the only splash screen that is actually not made with Blender. It's made, I don't know exactly what, with maybe Krita or maybe GIMP, but it's a 2D actually. It's a concept art from Sintel. So there are splashes of Blender splashes that are not made with Blender. Who would have thought? This is the very first alpha version of 2.5. During the 2.5 era, there has been a bunch of releases, alpha and betas, but they all had numbers like 251, 52, 53, which was a bit confusing because it meant that all the 2.5 versions were very unstable, on at least the first half. That won't be the case with 2.8 because 280 is supposed to be stable already, and then 2.81, 82, 3 improve on that, but always with a stable release, which it was not the case with 2.5. This was impossible to use. Alpha 0 was like, it was missing everything, and we had to add them as we need them, all the features, so it was crazy. Here, look at that, Francesco, sneaky. He added this shot. Can you tell who's this boy? It's Prug from Elephant's Dream during its cameo on Sintel. If you didn't know, actually you can find Prug from Elephant's Dream on Sintel, and that's Sintel. That's a layout, the layout model. This is Colin Levy, who will later go to work on Pixar, also doing layout. On that side, I think it was Lee Salvemini. This is oh, look at that boy. Look at the thick accent. I'm always talking about my accent. This is 2010. I was 21, 2, 3. I don't know, super young. I was working on the lighting. I arrived on this project to work on the basically lighting, compositing, and pretty much what I'm doing now for Spring, but back then for Sintel, working with alpha software. Now also working with beta software. So why am I always working with unstable software? Okay, I need a drink to celebrate. Drink to celebrate. Here, the very first demo of Cycles. Cycles, guys. Cycles didn't exist. We were working on Sintel on a branch of Blender internal that had some sort of irradiance caching for like a light to bounce around, and we were experimenting with it. But the version that we use for rendering Sintel was it never seen the light, never seen it was never released. Basically, you can only render Sintel, re-render Sintel with the version that we shipped on the DVD, or I think you can find it on the Blender Cloud as well. But yeah, basically after these issues, Brecht went out by his own and then came back and he's like, hey guys, I made a thing here. Okay, he didn't say it like that. It was more like, hey, I made a, yeah, more humble and polite like he is. And he just came up with freaking Cycles, insane. And I like it because this is his branch, the Cycles branch, but he also introduced like a different design for the panels, which I always felt very, very, very curious, like about this UI, this new concept. So yeah, that was basically the very first time you could see Cycles. Then 261 appeared. The beginning of Tears of Steel was happening, and Quit Blender. Quit Blender is the short film, very short film, as a workshop of the Tears of Steel team. So as a way to test the tools and to get the like team building, the main members of the team of Chris Pencil came to Amsterdam got together for a week and made this. So here you can find a very excited Francesco City, Sebastian Koenig, Kjartan is there, and Lee, and Ian Hubert, director. Also, he has the Dynamo. He's the director of Tears of Steel. Sebastian, after making a whole film with the motion tracking, he went and made 2 training DVDs. Pretty neat. Awesome. Here, you can't really tell, but actually you can find the developers, one developer of the motion tracker here, and then you can also find Campbell. Little known facts. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Okay, I'm gonna quickly go through it because it's just too much fun. Look at that. Sergey, developer of Cycles, there he was working on the motion tracker. Then we went and made Caminandes. In the meantime, we were making the other Caminandes. This is 269. Crazy. Then the feature film project happened. Well, it didn't really happen, but we tried our best. We didn't get the funding to make the feature film project, so instead we made Cosmos Laundromat. And here you can find happy people jumping in the showers. These are showers where the render farm used to be on the Blender, on the previous Blender animation studio, the Blender Institute. So here you can find Sarah, you can find Abriel, you can find Antonio, and you can find Antonius, and Hjalti down there. Glass half happened, Hero happened, Grease Pencil happened, 2.8 happened. Then, well, Hero, and then poor Daniel being almost grubbed by the whole Annecy community because he was making awesome stuff with Grease Pencil. Showing off Grease Pencil, and the beta happened, and more amazing artists joined the community, such as Daniel Beisted. Then we got a building, yep, and suddenly a wild building appeared here in Amsterdam North. Lalai, the Code Quest, Next Gen, more developers, Clement appeared in the scene, Lucas Stockner. It's just insane. Okay, went too much. It's just crazy. Okay, let's start with the questions because I said there will be 10 minutes more. So let's start. Was a bit boring? Did I go too fast through it? Did I just went too slow? It was just so exciting. If you like those kind of videos, let me know in the comments, or give me a thumbs up. I kind of like talking about old stuff. Maybe I can open All Blend, or maybe I can do a commentary track, not for the live streams, but maybe for just different videos. I'll watch a open movie and do a commentary track on top. At least the ones that I worked on. So let's check their questions. Your questions are 32 for now. They're on blender.today. Is the first question here. You can see it. Thank you for the upvotes. Now it's getting a little heart, a little fire icon here. And let's check out. Oh, by the way, you can actually subscribe from here to the YouTube channel. But I am subscribed, I think. So click. Oh, okay. Now I am more subscribed. But yeah, if you like this kind of videos, hey, you like this kind of videos? Yeah, you like all stuff? You are all farts such as I am. Thank you. Awesome. Yes, the 30 minutes start now. Time. First, Bruno asks, hi Pablo, what is your opinion about the proposal of implementation of color harmonies? I am not aware of that proposal, so let's check it out. Oh, now it started to get slow. It starts to get laggy again. What happened? I didn't open anything. Bonsoir. Okay, it got a bit laggy again, but I don't want to reboot. Color harmonies. I didn't see this. Can help improving the artwork very essentially. Even Blur Neguro made a very good statement. A very good place to play is color.adobe. Oh yeah, I think it's so you click on a color and it will show you like, yeah, major lag. I know The lag is back. The for some reason the OBS went back to 100%. You see, 300%, 400%, and I did nothing. Okay, a bit of lag is okay. All right. If the audio, I'm using an Ubuntu version. It's not Ubuntu. It's OBS. Maybe they have a new version. I'm gonna check because then I have to do the other live streams. The stream didn't die. I'm here. Let's continue, and I will just talk. Goodbye. Sorry. Reboot again. It's the second time. Podcast. So the implementation of color harmony, it seems pretty interesting. I would like to. Adobe is trying to. Okay, the sound is okay. It's okay. Let's just hear me out. The implementation of color harmonies is great. I hope this is a task that another developer can take, because it's very it's in one like very concrete, and it's down to the point. It can be developed on its own. So I think it's a browser, maybe, you think? But why? No, I show you that OBS is the one that is going 100%. Anyway, next. Is it possible to see the shadow catcher in Eevee? No. Somebody made a video, I think on YouTube, but it's not it's not really a shadow catcher. You can fake it, but it's not a shadow catcher. It's not implemented yet. Okay, just keep going. Thank you, Dario. I'm gonna continue going. Then, it's getting too warm here. Getting worried. Start undressing slowly and just get drunk slowly. Third question. Anton Boyko said, hey, Pablo, congrats on the award. Well, congrats you, the community, everybody. Questions. Have you seen the machine tools? I'm not going to open the links because it's going to be slow, but I think it's the add-on where you can basically like have like preset meshes on top of it, and you can do booleans and stuff, I think. I'm not really familiar with those add-ons. I usually am pretty old school and try to model everything myself, and it takes me forever. But yeah, it's a great add-on. Yes. Will you consider having the author in your UI UX team? Absolutely. Everybody's welcome to join the UI, the interface, and the everything. So please. The issue is that those people, they're so good that they just make their own add-ons, and they sell them, and yeah, I wish they would focus on other areas of Blender, and let's just continue to improve Blender for everybody. I understand that it's also a business. It's two ways. Maybe, yeah. I wish, but don't ask me. Ask them to contribute to Blender more in the core of Blender. Everybody is welcome, gladly welcome. Wo262 says, in 2.79, OpenGL real-time material viewport generated coordinate textures deformed correctly with mesh deformation. In 2.8, they don't in Eevee. Can the same code be used to deform a texture? I believe so. Coordinate texture coordinates should be rather easy to migrate, but I'm not sure. But yes, please. And you link a developer.blender.org website that I'm not gonna click it now just for the lag, but it should be okay. Yes, absolutely, it should be possible. Osta Blender 2020, which is a bronze dev fund. Yes. Any news on subdiv optimization and multi-res performance? It should be much better. Have you tried it in the last week and the last few days? Because it really is it has been improved a lot. We are using it for Spring. We are using the multi-res modifier and the subdivision surfaces, so it should be usable at least. So Cinog asks, would it be possible to make a code quest like for some of the most popular users' requests? Also, we need some updates for modeling tools, especially the knife tool. what's wrong with the knife tool? I think the knife project, it's not working currently, but it should be there, the same state as in 2.7. And regarding the code quests for typical or most popular user requests, yes and no, because depends on some of the requests, they overlap, you know, right? Some people like want Blender to be like Maya and some want to be like Cinema 4D, and the request should be more on like a feature based, right? For example, now there is a developer working on prefetching for the video sequencer. That is amazing. That it doesn't mean it's not Blender like Premiere or like DaVinci Resolve. It's a feature itself on the Blender video sequencer. So that kind of features, they should just come up by themselves. They shouldn't be needed for a code quest. The code quest would be great for bigger topics such as the everything nodes topic, for example, because then certain developers can focus on different areas, modifiers, modeling with nodes, like procedural modeling or animation or anything basically. The sculpt, for example, there could be a sculpt or maybe on like a paint quest, like focusing on the sculpting, mesh, like vertex color painting or actual texture painting, PBR painting, similar to this Adobe software that is very popular. Let's move on. Jon says, will the videos as a plane or background work in real time with Eevee? It's not implemented yet, but it will eventually. And I missed one. It will eventually because it was part of Blender 2.7, so it should. The question that I missed, Lapis says, when I'm able to scroll in the viewport through animation smoothly and I have all modifiers equal in render, why does the render animation for Workbench and Eevee take at least a second per frame? It feels wrong to screen record the viewport lagging. When you're able to scroll in the viewport, well, when you're scrolling, you're not recalculating the deformation of a mesh. You're just moving around. When you render the animation, you're actually calculating all the modifiers, and there is some anti-aliasing going on as well. There are other things going on. Everything is getting updated because you're changing frames. So also you're writing to your disk, you're making a video on your disk, on your hard drive, so that's why it takes also a bit longer. Or you're making a image sequence, for example. Well, that also takes a bit of time. So it's not the same to move around the viewport and to render a sequence. Next question. OMG is the neck says, hello Pablo, is it possible to do weight painting without dying? I heard of people that managed to do some weight painting without dying. Yes. Any plans to improve the process? Also, I will enjoy if we could export multiple materials out of the shader editor so I can manage all my texturing from one editor. Export multiple materials. Why would you export materials? Export. So I can manage all my texturing from one editor. I don't understand. So export them from the shader editor so I can manage all the one from one end. I'm trying to understand. But the weight painting, well, yeah, there could be improvements, but so far that's all we get. Let's hope for more features for the Animation 2020 project that will improve the whole animation pipeline in Blender. Panic Q606. Hey, thanks to the devs. Thank you, developers. Amazing work. Is there any chance to get back the edit bake feature for simulations from 2.4? Another thing was really useful was the shape key hair particle edit feature. Yeah, that was amazing. It's not going to be in 2.8, sorry. The gooseberry build is another build that it's so different from master and has so many features that were just added just to make it work, and they weren't up to quality with the rest of Blender, unfortunately, that it's not gonna be used, unfortunately. And the edit bake feature for simulations from 2.4, I don't think it's also compatible because the simulation system changed so much during 2.5, 6, 7, and 8. But we are on the verge of seeing a new implementation of physics in Blender. So hopefully with the everything nodes and the interactive mode, which we haven't had any news unfortunately, but there should be news on that regard, the physics system. In that sense, there should be an option for editing the bake. It's super useful. I remember you could simulate and then just tweak the simulation after. It was super nice. The Phobos asks, hi Pablo, is there some way to change the exit Blender dialog? Mine just warns me that something has changed, but yours asks if you want to save. The one that you're getting is probably the Windows one, and the one that I have, it's the one that it's built in Blender, because Windows and Mac have a specific quit dialogues that have their own features and their own like order for buttons and everything, following the Windows standards or the guidelines for Apple or Windows. But the one we have, we designed it ourselves. We consider to use the one from Blender always, but I don't think it managed to get in there because there are plans to make it work. The thing is that guidelines. Windows have the buttons in one order, Apple has it in other order, and the one Linux doesn't have any, because with Linux you can use any window manager like GNOME or KDE, so there are no guidelines for that works with everything. So we made ourselves one, and that's the one that you see when you close Blender. And I'm going to show it now, but it's the one that you see when you close Blender. There could be an option to use a built-in one, or maybe the Windows one could be improved and say that you want to save also instead of just quitting. My voice is going down. Dorian Bormans asks, could you reintroduce double click on an image node to show the texture in the image viewer for 2.8 like you did on your Amaranth add-on? Hey, we have an Amaranth user. For those who don't know, Amaranth, it's a very popular one of the how is it? Amaranth is an add-on that I made time ago for, like, it's not gonna get more laggy than this, I guess. So I'm just opening the site. So the version here is for 277. I think it works with 279, but I have to update it because the more I use Blender, the more I want to change it to become to help myself with the features, because some of the features they should be in. Like for example, double click on an image node to see it in an image editor. It's super handy, and it doesn't exist. I added it. Somebody suggested it in the community, and I added it to the double click to show on the image editor. So basically you can click and then it will show you the the image in the image editor. It works on 268 and newer. Amazing. But little known facts, some of the features that were added here for Amaranth, they found their way into the final Blender, like the shift set to change to render mode and shift alt set. This one, shift alt set, is now actually used for the overlays in Blender 2.8. This feature from 2.7 or before that is just awesome. Anyway, let's move on. That being said, I want to update Amaranth and move some of the features at least one by one to Blender 2.8. Some of them, the ones that make more sense. Jenda Beck says, are there plans to implement baking to vertex color like in 2.7? I use baking ambient occlusion to vertex colors all the time for my game assets. I haven't heard of those plans, but there should be. Those baking tools, they're like the game industry is huge, and indie game developers world is even bigger. So we should have those features. So please make a proposal on how it should work, the UI, how would it be, and then that will make it easier for developers to pick it up and implement it. the easier it is, the easier, like their mockups, it's easier for developers to just say, oh, I have a weekend free, I'm gonna work on this feature. Or for new developers as well. Hey, yay, hey Pablo, wonderful to recognize milestones. Thank you very much. I'm gonna heart that. Thank you. You the ninja, hello there. What about the grid? Maybe turn on infinite grid only in orthographic view, or just add option to disable infinite grid. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of infinite grid all the time. I like it most of the time, but sometimes it can get a bit crazy. It can like go out of the view and it does more harm than help. So I'm with you there that it should be optional. Aaron, which has like 3 badges, Blender Cloud, Code Quest, and Silver sponsor of the Blender Development Fund. Thank you. Here's clapping for you. Aaron says, are there plans to implement the option for cameras to retain scene info per camera? For instance, on a big architectural project, I will have interior, exterior, day, and night renderings, all with a different camera, layers, and lighting scenes settings. It would be nice if the camera could retain all the set up info per camera, such as lighting, layers on, off, etc. This wouldn't be, I wouldn't call that a camera, but I will call that a scene. So let's see if Blender manages to open at all. But if it manages to open, I wanted to share the feature that if you're not aware, you should be using. It's the background scene. It's just awesome. So you make a new scene, for example, completely new and empty. So add a new, is this a new button for a scene? This looks like duplicate. It should be a plus icon, right? Yeah. Okay. New, copy settings. They will copy your render settings. Then from here, you can use as a background scene, the scene, basically, your scene. So here you have everything. This will be rendered exactly like the other scene. So even if I change here to render view or like look dev, it would look like if I was in that one scene. So for example, if in my the actual scene, I don't have, like maybe I could just remove the lamps and I can have, for example, another camera from this point of view and then another camera from the top, for example. So I can go to my other scene. This data is not really there. It's just visible because I'm using it as a background, but I can change the camera. So I can say, okay, this one is going to be the camera 02. So if I press camera view, I have everything the same, but with a different camera, which is really, really handy. You could also do this with the new system, with the new collection system, where you can basically have the collections available here and then exclude the collections that you don't want. That would be probably be more powerful if you want to do specific tweaks here and there. But if you just want to change the lights and the background scene, it's very, very handy because you can add your own lamps here, your own local lamps, and they will be used on top of your geometry or whatever you have underneath. So you can have different lighting for each one, and then at the end of the day you can add a new video editing layout, and here you add your scenes. So basically you can build another scene where you have the different cameras, so you can do your edit with different cameras. This is super powerful, all in one blend file, because each scene in Blender is like a new blend file. Basically a blend file is basically a scene with everything in it. So when you make a new scene, you could have a whole feature film in one blend file in different scenes, and it would just work just fine. It would be super heavy, but if you keep if you share libraries and stuff, you wouldn't be too crazy of an idea. Next. So yeah, to answer your question, Aaron, thank you for being a subscriber of pretty much everything in Blender. And if not, I wouldn't use camera, but I would use scenes and copy the settings like I mentioned. Michael Soluyanov asks, hey Pablo, can I get Blender fundamental videos translated and posted on my YouTube channel? Well, you can do something even better, which is, well, yes, you can, first to answer the question, because they are Creative Commons. But you can do something even better, which is translate the videos from the Blender YouTube channel. So in Blender Fundamentals, you can go to any video if it doesn't get super laggy. So you can go to any of these videos. Hope that it doesn't have the volume on so I don't blast it on people here. And then I think if you press here on the dot, you should be able to add translations. So you can add translations of these videos on your language, and then everybody can benefit from it. Of course, you can make your own in your own language with audio in your own language and put it up, because this is Creative Commons. But the fact that these videos are already linked all over internet, from the Blender website and everywhere, it would give more value to these videos, because then people only have to remember one YouTube channel or one playlist, for example. That no, Eric. Hey, not a question, just an update. Metal in Blender is still on. Maybe other Mac users could get involved in the conversation. Maybe we could make a donation for it. Look at the dev talk. Huh, interesting. I won't open these because it's already laggy, but it's very interesting. Let's continue. I'm not gonna play videos, sorry. Thank again for the work of all you have done. Congrats for the award. Johan says, question, in a long time, does Blender have plans to make the Blender UI usable in standalone as a UI framework? At the same time, make the interface modular, which should make it faster to open Blender. Even faster to open Blender. You've seen how it opens when my computer is not laggy? It's just 1 second. It takes like 1 second literally to open Blender. At least on Linux. On Windows takes a bit longer, but on an SSD and on Linux, super fast. I don't know about Mac though. And then I am new in developing. I have to use GUI like Qt for other things that discourage me while having the Blender interface. Well, there is a project by one of the UI developers, Julian Severin. Let's open a tab. Julian Blender, which is called the B3D. No, it was the Blender UI GUI. He has a project where he's basically, you should look it up. He has a project where he talks about he made like a framework where you can use the Blender UI, like the buttons and everything, on your own projects. But I don't know how far he's with him. Eduardo San Marino asks, hi Pablo, imagine it, a checkbox visible in render for image reference. This little step will open a new world of possibilities for 2.5 composition. Rest in peace, Nuke. I know that there is another way of doing it, but manage image references is so much easier. With auto transparency, it will be a game changer. What do you mean? Like an empty? Like a checkbox for image reference? Like for the background, like background images? I don't get the idea completely, but have you tried the new background images in Blender 2.8? Cuba Cubo asks, hello, is there a plan to make separation mode / working with cycles, like the local view, you mean? Yes, eventually, because the local view at the moment is inferior to 2.7. I miss it so much. It doesn't work with cycles yet, and it also doesn't work really properly because it doesn't hide the rest of the objects. It still recalculates everything. It's just basically hiding the other objects. So it's not the same feeling that you get when you're using 2.7, and it's not as fast for sure. So yeah, there will be more work on that. Valentin B says, real talk here. When remove fake user from Blender, why would you remove it? What's wrong with the fake user? It's all fine. You don't have to use it. It's there if you want to use it, if you want to keep your data around, and now it doesn't have the F anymore. It's an icon. There is really nothing wrong with the fake user. Come on. Simon asks, how did these typos that you fixed earlier in the day in the comments happen? Kind of funny. So yes. Okay, fun story. Last night at 1:30 a.m. I had nothing better to do. Well, I actually had something better to do, but I was looking into the code and I found when you write something to something and then sometimes you write it twice. So I found this issue and then I looked through the code for these kind of issues. And yeah, I just found that it happened many places in the code that the to was duplicated. So yeah, in one of them it was supposed to be to do instead of to, but yeah, so it's funny, like 1:30 p.m. At a.m. in the morning. I was, yeah, I know, I have no life. I was fixing that. Hello, please. Oh, I also added fix another thing with the physics for particle systems. You could use no physics, but I changed it to be known like the rest. But yeah, spoiler alert, I am the fake user. Press F to pay respects for the fake user. Yes, press F for F users. F. All right, it's 10 minutes past 10, so we should be wrapping up there. Let's ask 5 more questions and let's get going, because the computer is 100%, my laptop is on fire, my beer is getting warm, so let's do 5 more. Amorato, please bring back the viewport grid units display. Does no one else miss that? It's very hard to tell what scale you're on when you zoom in really close to an object. Report it on DevTalk. It shouldn't be too hard. F for respect. Thank you, Dream High Animation. Enoseu Kun asks, can there be a way to automatically center an object pivot and have a way to move the object pivot line on object? A way to enter object pivot mode and move it. Yeah, the center of the other, changing the origin. Yeah, I think that's a feature that has been asked. It is on right-click select since forever. Scary Fish, could you do a tutorial for the Blender Cloud taking us through your lighting workflow in a Springshot? Yes, I will make a lighting workflow video once once the lighting is over, once we're over with the crunch time. Today we realized that we have to render pretty much every hour, like every couple hours we have to render a second final animation started now for Spring to be properly done. So we are kind of in trouble in a good way. We just need to work harder and send renders as final. So there are a few shots that are final-ish, but you know, you never want to make something final. So will be interesting. But yes, Scary Fish, I am going to make a video, lots of tutorial and stuff, because that's what you Blender Cloud subscribers pay for. You pay for the content, but also for open movie projects, and then we also explain how we use the files, because all the files are going to be up on the Blender Cloud. So you need videos to see how they are being used. And by the way, I was assigned today to do the lighting of the last shot of Spring, the final shot. No pressure, yeah, no pressure. So that will be tricky. Okay, Dead Drago asks, I love this series. Can you tell me, in a way, Blender 2.8, the keymap setup? Show some inputs that don't work, like shift scroll up. Yeah, many people ask about it. I have to check and report the issue, but you can also report it on DevTalk. There is a thread about the keymap. Okay, 2 more questions. Neutronic Polygon says, good evening. Should want to ask, where are the screen capture screenshots? The screenshots toggle with system console. This is from Windows. this should be there actually. I don't know what happened. I don't have window to test it myself, but it should be there. Otherwise, report it. Then the screen capture is gone. It wasn't really good. It was like a, yeah, there are better software for it than Blender itself. You also had to change your output path. So if you were doing Play Blast but wanted to do like it would override, it wasn't the best system. So it was basically removed. And the right click edit source, it is still there. It was never gone. It's now just not so visual anymore, because the edit source is something that is very obscure. Like how often does the regular Blender user changes the source of Blender? So all the developer kind of features are now disabled by default, but you can enable it from the interface panel, developer extras, and you can also enable the Python tooltips from there, which are now hidden by default. So if you have the developer extras, you will have things like edit source or copy, or like some more developer-ish stuff. And that is it. I will cut it here because I have to make another live stream in Spanish, and so I'm gonna try and reboot the computer to try to go everything back to normal and try to be as efficient as possible. You have OBS for screen capture, Pablo? Yeah, I have it now. I have, yeah, it's much better, but as you can see, sometimes it can go crazy and use 100% of my computer, unfortunately. But yes, I hope everything else was okay. I also hope the show was a bit different than usual. There hasn't been a lot of development, but that doesn't mean the development stops. There are so many bug reports. We're getting so many crashes when working on the Spring Open Movie project that like, for example, if you want to close Blender, you just delete an object when Cycles is running, and then it depends on the settings. Sometimes if you have particles, it will crash. So we are reporting all these issues. We are using 2.8. Every morning we arrive at work, compile the latest Blender, hope for the best, and start using it. And that's how Blender gets better. Also, thank you and everybody for reporting bugs. That's how Blender also gets better. Try to be very clear with the bug reports that you make. Try to give a blend file as an example, super simple. Try to make a video capture maybe, because maybe there's something in the workflow, the way you're doing things. So try to make it as clear as possible. Reporting bugs is amazing, but if the developers have to spend half an hour trying to figure out what were the steps, it's just wasting time from everybody, right? So let's try to make it as clear as possible. Thank you everybody for tuning in, for joining, and let's meet again next week at the same time, same place. And let me go with style, even though it's laggy, but let's make it like a radio show. I can talk like a radio show. So super laggy. I hope I'm not with an idiot face all the time. I know it's tough. It's tough. But okay, I'm loading it. Guile, Street Fighter. In 3, 5, 4. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I will see you again next time, same place, same time. Ciao.